I'm Steve Higgins. I'm going to talk about my holiday book bag for 2017. 7 books I've taken on holiday to France to read. All of them second-hand books, sourced from second-hand bookshops, charity shops, or even the internet in some places. This is my first book, The Horse Whisperer by Nicholas Evans. Picked this up in a charity shop. Not the normal kind of thing that I would read, but looked quite fascinating. I've heard it's been made into a film with Robert Redford, which I've never seen. It says on the back of the book, it's the hottest book of the year. And another reviewer says, wild horses couldn't drag me away from this book. A tear-jerking page turner, it says. I've got to admit, at the start of the book, it is a bit of a page turner, because there's a constant expectation that something's going to happen, and you keep waiting for it to happen, and it doesn't necessarily happen. It's written in a very sort of bland magazine type style, with the extensive notes about each character, even the guy who causes the accident that injures the horse. We get notes about his background. Ultimately unsatisfying, but not a bad book. I suppose it's not a bad holiday read. Anyway, that's The Horse Whisperer. A book that is was very, very satisfying is this one, The Hilliker Curse, James Ellroy. Subtitle, My Pursuit of Women. It's a kind of an autobiography, but not one that you will have read before. It's one where he's kind of looking at himself through the women in his life. It's called The Hilliker Curse because his mother's maiden name was Jean Hilliker. She was murdered when the author was only 10 years old, and maybe he seems to think that she's sent him on a particular direction in pursuit of women. I don't know. Fabulous book, very exciting read, written in a kind of LA jive talk, which is a little bit hard to get a handle on, but once you get used to it, a great read, very fast moving, very interesting, full of great word images. Fabulous book. There's another book, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, Jules Verne, classic of literature. This one says it's a new translation by William Butcher, and as a matter of fact, the book reads not like a 19th century novel, but a very modern kind of text, a very fast moving book. And whether that's down to the translator or Jules Verne himself, I don't know, but very interesting, a bit heavy on facts and figures about under the sea, submarines, displacement, pressure, blah blah, stuff like that, but otherwise still an exciting adventure story. Another classic book I brought along is this one, James Joyce, Ulysses. Anytime you look on the internet for the greatest books of all time that you should read before you die, this book is on the list, which is why I bought the book. But I actually found it kind of heavy going, and I actually found it very hard to get into. It's written in a bit of an oddball style. Maybe that's because I've got the 1922 version. Hopefully there's another version that is a bit more readable. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to save that for another day because I just couldn't quite get into it. One book I could get into was this one. It's called Lion by Saroo Brierley. If you've not read this book, you surely have seen the film, and this picture is from the film. It's a young lad who gets lost in India. He's about 5, falls asleep on a train, ends up in Calcutta, has no idea where he comes from or where his family is. And when he grows up in later life, is adopted into an Australian family. He eventually finds his way back home by using the internet. If you've ever seen the movie is a fabulous film, very realistic in a very documentary kind of style, full of emotion, a fabulous movie. Compared to the film, this book is a little bit of a letdown. It's still a good read, don't get me wrong, but I just felt that the film was on a bit of a higher emotional scale. A good book, but make sure you see that film. It's another autobiography. This is by Kenneth More, More or Less it's called. It's about Kenneth More's life in the theatre and the film business. It doesn't actually tell you a lot about the film business, to be honest with you, but it does tell you about his life as a jobbing actor in the post-war years, working in the theatre. As a matter of fact, he worked at the Windmill Theatre in London, worked his way up to stage manager. After working there a couple of years, he decided he got bitten by the acting bug and wanted to be an actor. Very interesting book, not the best cinema book I've ever read, but still pretty interesting. Anyway, final book, it's the Spiritual Teachings of Marcus Aurelius. Marcus Aurelius was an emperor of Rome who died in the year 180. This book is therefore almost 2,000 years old. This isn't Marcus' actual book, which is the book I was trying to get off the internet, and in the end I've ended up with this one. But this chap, Mark Forstater, I think that's how you pronounce his name, does a really good job here, because he starts off by introducing the subject of philosophy, tells you about the Greek philosophers, some of the things that they were saying, and the Zen Buddhist philosophers, and then moves on to the spiritual teachings of Marcus Aurelius. A fabulous book, and incredible to think that these words written nearly 2,000 years ago are coming direct through time, straight to 2017. Really fascinating. Anyway, that's my book bag for this year, 2017. Find out more at stevehigginslive.com. Thanks for listening.